Hey guys, welcome into today's video. This is going to be a brand new series on my channel. It's going to be a foundation a day for 42 days. The reason that I wanted to start this video is that I have 51 foundations in my permanent collection. It's the number 2 item, maybe number 1 right now, of makeup that I really like testing. I'm really into testing new foundations. It switches back and forth usually between blush, eyeshadow, and foundation, my 3 favorite makeup categories, probably a lot of people's favorite makeup categories. But 51 foundations is just too much for me to have in my collection. I recently did a makeup declutter, and I will link that up in the cards, where I went through my whole collection and I decluttered, breaking some of my makeup into 3 different categories: keep, declutter, and then I made up a third, which was items that I want to keep for reference, but I'm going to take out of my permanent collection and move into the closet where I keep makeup that I think is popular, relevant, things that I may want to reference in future videos, but that I don't want to use in my personal everyday life. But I did not do that with foundation. And recently I've gone through a really big skin change. In the last 8 months to a year, I have gone from really, really dry skin to very, very oily skin, and a lot of foundations that used to work for me that were more on the dewy, natural finish side just aren't working these days. So I'm grabbing and loving more matte foundations. So some of my foundations in my collection predate my skin change. So the reason for this series, I don't want to just declutter foundations based on memory. I want to retest a lot of them because some of them are pretty expensive. Some of them I may re-love, some of them I may not like or may not work for me now, and it's time to make that determination. So while I have 51 foundations in my collection, this is foundation a day for 42 days because there are 9 foundations I have already made a decision on. Some of them I'm actually testing. They haven't gone into speed reviews, but I've worn them very recently, so I know exactly how I feel about them, but I will have to move them into wherever they're going to go, keep, declutter, or in the reference pile. And then there are some that I'm testing that I already absolutely love, haven't gone into a speed reviews, and I know that I'm going to be keeping them. And then 2 of them I have already made the decision that I'm going to declutter. Welcome to day 24, you guys. Today we're testing the Guerlain foundation. It's called, I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. It's the Guerlain L'Essentiel Natural Glow 16-hour foundation. I don't know a ton about this. It appears that this has been somehow like reformulated. I know they have a version of this in a frosted glass bottle. I think this one is the older version. This isn't frosted, it's just a clear glass bottle. It appears that like on their website, there's only 2 shades left. You can get this other places, but it's not from a brick and mortar store or the manufacturer's website. Again, with the reformulation, it's still a little bit hard to find. So anyway, I still wanted to test this. I don't know how different it is, but because this is still available in certain places and a couple of shades on their website, I thought we would do the wear test on this guy. So let's get into it, you guys. I don't remember a whole lot about this. It does say natural glow 16-hour wear. The thing is, I remember this being super dry, like really full coverage, very, very drying foundation. Very mattifying. I don't remember a natural glow at all. If you guys have seen these videos, you guys know memory is a terrible indicator on how something performs. I literally get it wrong like, 60% of the time. So let's get into talking about this guy. So as I mentioned before, they still do have what looks like a couple of shades on their website in this particular foundation, but I don't know how many comes in the particular line. I have mine in the shade 00C, which I imagine is one of the lightest shades that they have. This does come with SPF 20. It's supposed to have 97% natural ingredients. It's supposed to be long wear, buildable, with a natural glow finish. It has a very strong fragrance. In fact, the fragrance I think is something that they boast on the Guerlain website because it fully describes the notes of the fragrance, which I found is interesting. I've never seen another complexion product do that before. On the Guerlain website, this does retail for $60. It's 30 mils, and I assume that the shelf life on this is 12 months. It doesn't say on the bottle, nor did it say on their website. So what we do in these videos, you guys, I apply it. We kind of do just like an initial and first impressions. Again, can't remember what a lot of these perform like. Also, don't know how many of them I've used since I've had more combo oily skin. Right now my skin is so normal. It's fabulous. It's just fabulous. It's like 50 degrees outside. There's no humidity. It's windy. I'm loving the way foundations are looking. They're not slipping off, all that good stuff. But normally under, the other kind of Florida conditions, I typically am sweating my foundations off within just a few hours. So more mattifying foundations is usually what I go for. But right now I can definitely tell the foundations that are on the drier side as opposed to kind of the summertime. I just remember using this, I think, in the summertime, and then it just being on the dry side. In fact, when I was doing the swatch, it's pretty evident that that formula is very thick. It just sits there. It doesn't like have any real emollients to it. It's like a whipped texture. And then when I was rubbing it in, it's like sitting on top of my skin. It just wasn't blending in, and it looked kind of drying. So I'm already thinking this is going to be one that goes. We will do a check-in in natural light at 4 hours, and then we come back at the end of the night and I make a decision as to whether or not it stays or goes based on how it is looking and how it wore throughout the day. That's really the goal in this particular video. Let's get this applied. I have been kind of switching back and forth. I started these wear tests with like one side with a brush, one side with a sponge. Then I switched to primarily a brush. This one, I'm gonna use a brand new dampened sponge because I feel like this formula is gonna need it. It is so thick. Even where I put it, like on my hand, it kind of looks dry, like left over, just looks super dry on my skin. So going to take the sponge and just bounce it in. It's a very, very light shade. I told you about the fragrance. It's strong. It's definitely pungent, and I think it is one of those that lingers. It's pretty light with the amount that I put on, and I was going for that because I don't want it to start looking super dry and cakey. I think that's probably all I want to apply. I want to be careful with this one that I don't end up looking like a crazy person at the end of the day because it just seems like it doesn't absorb into the skin very well. I'd rather go in with lighter coverage. Man, this is such a fragrant foundation. If you guys are sensitive to that, you will not like it. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's go in on the other side. I think there's somewhat of a natural glow, like right away. I think it's probably best with this foundation to go in with a lighter layer because I really do think it sits on top of the skin if you go in with too much. I don't think it absorbs very quickly. And if you're going to get more full coverage out of this, my recommendation 100% would be that you layer it. You don't just go in with a super thick layer right away. You build the coverage up. I don't always think foundations need that. In this case, I would say build it or look like a cakey devil. This doesn't look bad. In fact, this actually looks like a very true shade match to me too. So also I feel like maybe that kind of helps that it's just not like too deep of a shade, which a lot of my foundations are. This one, very cool toned, looks very true to my skin. So far, it actually looks really, really good. I see a little tiny bit of a natural glow. It's not too heavy, it's not too dry, it doesn't look cakey. That doesn't mean it can't like start looking like that, but so far it actually looks really, really pretty. A lot better than I thought it was gonna look. I don't know if this is something that I wanna keep in my collection just because it's been reformulated and or phased out. Also, the fragrance is very, very strong and I can probably get this with other foundations, but we shall see. So let me go finish. Let's come back and look at it one final time. Welcome back. It's actually been a little bit of time for me because I went out, jumped out, filmed a different video. Sometimes I do that when I'm doing these wear tests. I do have 2 different eye looks on and I wonder how I'm gonna go pick up my son from school. Am I gonna roll around like this? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I might do it. That's kind of how I feel, just a little crazy at my age. Anyway, the foundation is looking a lot drier in person as it continues to sit. This is exactly what I remember it doing before. I think that if I had gone in any heavier with the foundation, like as it continues to sit there and whatnot, it would have looked a lot worse because it looks so dry at this current moment. We're gonna definitely go check it out in the natural light right now. We'll do again at 4 hours and then we'll come back and see how it looks. Just, I'm not convinced. I feel like this looks really, really dry on my skin and just heavy too. It didn't feel heavy when I first put it on, but like as soon as it dried down, it just felt heavy. It just looks a little bit heavy. It might not look that way on camera, but I'll do a close-up in natural light for you guys. Anyway, that is it for now. I will see you guys back here later on. Welcome back, you guys. It is, what time is it now? I still have my 2 different eye looks on. It's crazy. It's 8:30, so I have had this on for, I want to say 9 hours now, because I put it on, I want to say it was like 11:30, maybe a little bit before that, so maybe over 9 hours at this point. I think that it did a lot better than I was expecting. I think this wasn't as dry as I remember it being, and I think it had something to do with the fact that I went in with a much lighter layer, a lesser amount of coverage, if you will, and I think that's really the ticket. I think that is the distinction between kind of like what made it just drier the first time. It's not remarkable though. I know that looking back at these wear tests, a lot of times the foundation just looks so similar. So it's really hard for me to tell. The only time I can really tell something is standout is like when it does something spectacular. I really noticed that it smooths my skin. It's holding up a little bit longer. I caught myself in the mirror and I thought, oh my gosh, that looks really delightful. I don't know that this one did any of that. It's breaking down just a tiny bit around my nose. You guys probably can't see it super well. My nose, of course, is dewy as it usually is. I just think it's a drier foundation overall. My skin doesn't feel hydrated, if that makes sense. It doesn't look dried out, but it just doesn't feel super hydrating. Because they don't even make this anymore, and because I'm really working on paring down my collection, I'm gonna let this one go. I really am. I don't know, I grappled with it back and forth kind of all day, like in my head, but I am gonna let it go because I wouldn't want to use this over some of the other ones that I love, and I definitely can't feature it on my channel, and it's just not something that I absolutely love, so I'm gonna let it go. Let's get to the new tally. While I am looking this up, you guys, I'm gonna throw up a picture or a video of what it looked like right after application in natural light, and then what it looks like at 4 hours. I think it still looked really good at 4 hours. I still think it looks really good now. It definitely didn't break up the way that some other ones have done for me. It didn't mesh poorly with my oils, but I didn't get super oily anyway. I kind of feel like what it is sort of doing right here with the very little amount of oils that's going on kind of gives me the impression that it would do worse if I was sweating. So anyway, we are going to declutter it, you guys. That makes the new tally that I am decluttering 13 and then I am keeping 11. So I'm still on track. I still feel good about it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, I hope you're enjoying the series. I know these are not the most popular videos on my channel, but I am still committed to getting through all of the 42 foundations that I had in my collection that I was going to retest to see which ones stay or go. I'm out of here for this evening, you guys, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye.